Let's take a look at a lot of the awesome manga that came out in January of 2023. Stay tuned. So this video is coming out a lot later than I typically would like to have them out. Usually I like to put these buyer's guides out at the beginning of the month so you can use it as a guide throughout the rest of the month, the stuff that is coming out. But this time we're kind of looking at it retrospectively. So instead we're looking at the stuff that has come out already in January. And I'm not going to be continuing this trend next month. I will have the February one out, hopefully in that first week. So I guess I'll see you back here in like a week or two with the February video. But this month was just crazy for me. So I was extremely busy at my job. I'm not a full-time content creator. I know some people think that I am, but I'm not. It was swamped at work. It was just beginning of the year stuff that was happening for us. And I was working way more than what I typically would. And I just did not have any free time to record or to read or to do anything. And then on top of that, like that kept me busy the first like 2 or 3 weeks of the month. I was also putting this stuff together, and this took some time to like set up my new background. But you know, here I've got a couple of cases with my figures, my statues. I'm gonna see about getting better lighting and stuff so that you guys can actually see what's in there. And then I've got a bunch of my prints that I had behind me in a previous video. They are back in a kind of more well-organized manner. But yeah, I'm really like pleased with the way that this looks, and I'm hoping to improve on it as we go forward so that it just looks, you know, so it pops really well. So I'm playing with that, playing with lighting and all that stuff. But for now, we'll go ahead and get into the video. I appreciate all of you being patient with me. I promise that I'm not going to be doing the same thing for February. And I will also have a December haul video coming out. That one is partially delayed for the same reasons as this video, but also because one of my December orders took forever to get shipped and arrive, and I wanted to have that here to talk about with everything else. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the January manga releases. As always, in making these videos, I want to cover a few topics real quickly. First off, what do I mean when I say notable new releases? We're covering notable new releases through January in this video, and what that means is not just any new release, not just the most popular new series has a new volume out. I'm talking about new volume ones, new single volume releases, new final volumes. I don't think there's any box sets in this month, but if they had any, then I would talk about those as well, special edition stuff, things like that. The whole purpose of these videos is to help guide y'all to find new things that you may not have otherwise known about and you wouldn't pick up, because there are so many new releases every month that it's really easy to kind of skip over something and miss something that you otherwise might really enjoy. Doing these videos for the past year or so has helped me out immensely in finding new things that I wind up enjoying quite a bit, things that I wouldn't have tried if I hadn't been doing these videos. Next up, usually I talk about release dates. You know, the things will come out early, things will come out later than what I say. It happens. Because of how late I'm putting this video out, most of these books are already available, so I don't really need to cover that, but you know, it is what it is. And finally, this is just a personal thing. If you happen to be on Twitter, please follow me over at OmniCollector. And if you wind up picking up any of the books that I mentioned in this video, because I mentioned it, something that you wouldn't have picked up otherwise, please tag me when you get it. Take a picture, tag me, tag the publisher, to let them know that you know, I'm helping to push their product out there, that I'm helping to spread the word about these releases. So those things all said, let's go ahead and jump into talking about a lot of those notable new releases that came out throughout January. So first up, we have one that I should have shown last month, I should have talked about last month, and that is Not All Girls Are Stupid from Starfruit Books. This one, it came out last month, but I believe that the review copy was sent to me late in December, so I didn't get a chance to add it into my December stuff. This comes from small publisher Starfruit Books. They put out a few things, but a few really good things, and I've talked about some of their books in the past on here or on my TikTok. Starfruit Books is pushing to put out a lot of Hideshi Hino stuff, as well as a lot of other horror manga under their Blood Orange imprint, and this is just the newest release from there. Now, I've been way too busy and I haven't actually been able to sit down and read this one yet, but I'm very excited, and it does look fantastic. One note though, you cannot get this on Right Stuf because of the content. It is a little bit more sexually graphic, and because of that, they're not able to sell it there because they moved all of that stuff over to their other store. But you can buy the book straight from the publisher if you go to Starfruit Books website. Anyway, moving forth into the books that came out on the first week, the 3rd of January. First up, we have My Sister the Cat. This is a slice of life comedy about a family of humanoid cats that adopted a young man. So we have a full-grown young man amongst these humanoid cats, and the little sister, My Sister the Cat, is this small toddler-sized girl you see on the cover of the manga and stuff, who is a humanoid cat. Next up we have a BL from 7 Seas in their new BL line, I'm Kinda Chubby and I'm Your Hero. This one follows the aspiring actor Punjiro, who fears that his weight may come between him and his dreams, but then one day he receives a package from his first fan, a local pastry chef whose support helps to instill Punjiro with new confidence. Next up we have the final book that I have from the first week, is No Longer Allowed in Another World. This is an isekai that actually follows a fictional version of Osamu Dazai, the writer of No Longer Human. And he's looking for just a peaceful and perfect place to die. But no matter what, everything that he does, everything just happens to turn out okay, no matter what he does. So that sounds pretty amusing. If you are a fan of Dazai's work, maybe you'll want to check that one out. Second week, we have a lot more stuff. First up, we have on the 10th, The Night Blooms Behind Castle Walls. This is a slice of life fantasy that follows Rosa, a young woman who dreams of becoming a knight, and all the tasks that she must face to reach her ultimate goal. Then we had Malevolent Spirits Mononogatari. So this one I did get. This one I just got, I think, a few days ago, so I haven't had a chance to read this or many of the other books that I have in hand yet. But this follows there's a guy named Hyoma, and he despises Tsukumogami. Tripping over my words today. These are spirits that dwell in old objects, and Hyoma is on a mission to use his supernatural powers to send them back to their own world. However, his grandfather sends him to live with a girl named Botan, not to be confused with Botan from Yu Yu Hakusho, who lives with an overprotective Tsukumogami, which might be more than he can bear. Then we have the Ghost in the Shell fully compiled hardcover came out from Kodansha. This has the 3 original Ghost in the Shell manga in one singular hardcover edition. So if you are a fan of their releases like the 2-volume A Silent Voice set, you might want to check this one out. The trim size is going to be the same as the hardcovers that they've released previously that were available in the box set. But if you like an all-in-one edition, here it is. This one's here for you. Next up from Viz in the Shonen Sunday line, we get Helk. This one I had never heard of before they announced it last year, but it sounded fantastic, so I was very excited to get my hands on it so I could try this one out. Also, I collect every series that's in the Shonen Sunday line. They're all pretty great, so whatever, but I was going to be getting this one anyway. So this one is about, basically in this world, the Demon Lord was defeated, and now there's a tournament going on to see who will be his replacement. But the leading contestant is the human named Helk. The demons are not happy about that, that a human might become the new Demon King. This was published from 2014 to 2017 in the Ura Sunday, I believe it's a digital magazine, and it was a 12-volume series total. So not terribly long compared to a lot of the other series that are in the Shonen Sunday line. Next up we had Pleasure and Corruption Volume 6 from Denpa. This was the final volume of the erotic psychological drama series. This one I forgot to order the copy. It is available on Right Stuf, but I would have a physical one to show. I just completely forgot to order it when it came out. But I did order the first omnibus edition of 3 of number 6. So this was a 9-volume series total, so there will be 3 of these 3-in-1 omnibus editions. This one it's a shoujo sci-fi series that follows a student named Shion who lives in the seemingly perfect city of number 6, but everything he knows is about to be dashed away when he meets a boy known as Rat, who begins to help Shion discover that number 6 is not all that it seems. And finally, from the 10th, we have Under Ninja. This was delayed so many times. I believe it was originally supposed to come out at the end of 2021, and it obviously got pushed back over a year. Now, I think Denpa was selling this in late November, early December on their Twitter. Like through their Twitter, they would sell it, but it wasn't available on, retailers like Right Stuff until early this month, or maybe it was late last month. I don't remember exactly when I ordered it, but it's here now. It's finally here. We've been waiting for this one, needless to say. All right, next up we got books that came out on the 17th, so we're in the middle of the month now. First up from Seven Seas is Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, Fafnir the Recluse. Now this is a spin-off of the main Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid series. I'm completely unfamiliar. I've mentioned this in the past when there's been new Kobayashi's Dragon Maid books that have been in my videos. I don't know anything about that franchise. If it's one that people recommend, I'll try to check it out, but I don't know anything. But this is a new spin-off from the fan service-filled franchise, but it looks like it follows a character who is like an otaku dragon who collects a bunch of otaku-related merch and stuff like that. If I'm wrong in the way I'm describing this, I am so sorry. I'm just going off of what I was reading. Next up, also from Seven Seas, this is in the Ghost Ship line, is the final volume of Does a Hot Elf Live Next Door to You? I believe that's volume 5. There's several final volumes that came out this month, that being one of them. Then another one from Seven Seas BL line, Barbarities. Barbarities follows the dashing Viscount Adam Canning, who becomes Lord Montague's bodyguard, and soon he meets Lord Montague's charming nephew, Joel. Joel is too busy to notice Adam, which makes Adam want him even more. Next up, we've got the final volume of Lost Lad London. I also neglected to order this one when it first became available, but I was enjoying the first 2 volumes of this series, so I cannot wait to see how it all wraps up in this 3rd volume of this mystery series from Yen Press. If you want a quick mystery detective type series, definitely check out Lost Lad London. Like I said, it's only 3 volumes, so it's not a huge investment. Then we've got the final volume of Beastars, one of my favorite series. I've been hotly anticipating this final volume for quite a while, and it's finally here. So 22 volumes, Beastars is concluded. Hopefully we get Haru Itagaki's newest currently ongoing series also in English, which is Sanda, the series that's about a guy who becomes Santa Claus. If you picked up Drip Drip, which I believe was a couple months ago, it did have a one-shot that also dealt kind of, I think Sanda kind of spun out of that, or the idea of it did. There was a Santa-related one-shot in that. Anyway, while this is the last volume here, we do still have Beast Complex volumes coming out. Your unfamiliar Beast Complex started before Beastars, continued during Beastars, and has continued after Beastars ended as well. And it's kind of an anthology series that has various stories about other animals within the world of Beastars. So while we're done with the main series, we're not done with the world just yet. Next up, we have a whole batch of books from Yen Press, and once again, Yen Press sent these to me, these review copies, and I would have liked to have talked about them early in the month, but life got ahead of me, so here we are, almost done with the month, and I'm finally talking about them. But I did read all of them, and I'm ready to talk to you about them. First up, we have Honey Lemon Soda Volume 1. This was a big win for the shoujo fans when this was announced over the past summer at Anime Expo. This was one that a lot of shoujo fans were really hoping would get licensed. This is a high school shoujo romance series about a girl who meets this really just cool guy in her class. It's this blonde-haired dude, and she kind of becomes enamored with him. It's a really simple concept, very standard type of romance story, but it's very cute. The characters are cute, and if you're into shoujo high school romance, then you'll definitely want to pick up Honey Lemon Soda. Next up, we have Oshi no Ko. This was the big one that was coming out from Yen Press this month. This is one of the most requested licenses before Yen Press picked it up, also at Anime Expo. This was one that I saw so many people ask for. Whenever I would make videos about upcoming licenses, whenever I'd look on like Twitter and stuff for people asking various publishers, Oshi no Ko was one of the top probably 3 licenses that were requested, and Yen Press finally landed it, and it is fantastic. I had a really great time reading this first volume. I'd never read Oshi no Ko before. I don't want to spoil anything because the volume definitely takes some twists and turns, and by the end of the first volume, the plot going forward doesn't even seem like it's going to resemble what it started as. But anyway, it follows our main character is an idol, and she is pregnant. She's having children. Her OBGYN is taking care of her, making sure everything goes smoothly with her pregnancy, and he is all of a sudden, spoiler alert for the first chapter, murdered. And then he is reborn in the body of one of the babies that she has. The first volume continues from there, and it kind of deals with the idea of like what's it like to be the child of an idol. But by the end of the first volume, there's a really big twist, and I don't want to spoil it. But I'm going to say check this one out. I really enjoyed the first volume. If you haven't read it yet, at least give it a try. There is an anime coming out soon though, so I guess you can check out the anime when the first episode drops, and if you enjoy it, pick up the manga. But I personally, I'm recommending the manga to you. Next up we have Your Forma Volume 1. This is a manga adaptation of a light novel series. This one's really interesting. In this sci-fi series, there is a device called Your Forma, which is basically kind of like neural link. It's something that they put into people's brains, and your memories are saved, essentially like saved on a chip. And so there's a detective who uses the Forma to investigate cases. She pulls memories out of people's brains, out of, the brains of victims and stuff like that, or the brains of prisoners, I suspect, and anyone who she can, and uses that information to try and solve these crimes. It was a very intriguing first volume. I'd heard about the series before, but had never read it. I'm really glad that I got a chance to read this one. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the series from here. Next up, also from Yen Press, we have Pandora 7. This was a really fun first volume of this fantasy series. Deals with basically this girl is the adoptive daughter of this dragon, is her mother, her adopted mother, and she is supposedly the last human in this world where there's a bunch of like fantastical beings and stuff. But then one day, more humans show up and just completely wreak havoc because they were looking for Pandora's box, which this girl had access to, and she uses it, and it kind of unlocks some powers with her. A really interesting first volume. If you're into fantasy stuff, this might be one that you want to check out. Great artwork as well. Like the first opening pages are really like wonderful color. There's a great 2-page color spread. Fantastic artwork in that one. Next up we have I'm Quitting Heroing. This one was fun. Basically, this dude saved the village or the world or whatever from the demoness, the demon queen, and instead of praising him and thanking him for his efforts and for doing this, they fear him now. So he is getting no respect for what he's done, despite the fact that he's saved the world. And because of that, he decides, you know what? Screw this, I'm gonna go work for the Demon Queen. And so that's, how this one basically starts. And then we have, this one has a long title, I'm just gonna read it off my screen. Apparently disillusioned adventurers will save the world, the ultimate party is born. I believe this one had an anime that had already come out. This was my least favorite of all the ones that Yen Press sent me, I'm gonna be completely honest here. But I'm really not into these kinds of books anyway. This one also did come plastic wrapped because there are some scenes of like nudity and stuff within, not in the first chapter. I read the first chapter, I was like, why is this plastic wrapped? And then I flipped forward and I was like, oh, that's it. I don't think it was in the first chapter, at least. I think it starts in the second chapter. There might have been something, I don't know. It's been a couple weeks since I read this one. Basically, the main character was betrayed by his teammate. He's kicked out of their team. He was dumped by his girlfriend. So everything's going wrong for this guy. And then he finds some kindred spirits, some people who've been through similar things to him, and he forms this new party. So it's like a fantasy comedy adventure type series. And then finally, from Yen Press, and they didn't send me this one, but I bought this one on my own. Doomsday with My Dog. This is about a teenage girl who is traversing a post-apocalyptic world with her dog, Haru. Being able to spend all that time with Haru makes the end of the world a little bit more comfortable. Next up, we have volume 16 of Saint Seiya Saintia Show. This is the final volume of this Saint Seiya spin-off. This is the only spin-off series from the original Saint Seiya, or Knights of the Zodiac as it's more popularly known in the States, that we have in English. The only one. There are tons of them, and this is the only one that we have in English. I really hope that, I don't think this was very, I don't want to put negative out there. I don't think this was terribly successful because I never see anyone talking about it. I didn't even really know that it was available in English back when I first started picking it up. There was like 4 volumes out and I'd never heard anyone mention it, so I was surprised. I say that to say that, unfortunately because of that, I wouldn't count on other Saint Seiya spin-off series to get licensed. I'm not saying it's impossible. I would love for it to happen. Maybe with the upcoming live-action movie that looks absolutely terrible, they'll license something else. At the very least, Viz could put it back into print. I don't know, but this is done now. All 16 volumes are out, so if you want more Saint Seiya goodness, pick it up. Speaking of Viz, from the Shonen Jump line, we have Tatsuki Fujimoto before Chainsaw Man 17 to 21. This is the first of a 2-volume set collecting a bunch of Fujimoto's early one-shots. So if you are a fan of Tatsuki Fujimoto through his work like, of course, Chainsaw Man or Fire Punch, or maybe his one-shots like Look Back or Goodbye Eri, then pick this one up because there's a lot of great stuff to kind of give you a look at what his storytelling was like, his artwork and whatnot, earlier in his career. From the 17 to 21 are the ages that these stories come from. So he started when he was 17 years old. There's a second volume that will be coming out in the near future that collects the rest of his one-shots. Then we have from Titan Manga, Afro Samurai Volume 2. Volume 1 came out just like a month ago, but it was after several delays, so they put out Volume 2 pretty quickly after that. I'm glad that we didn't have to wait that long. I already have the original 7 Seas editions, but I picked up the first volume of this new edition from Titan because I wanted to be able to compare them. I did not expect it to be this big. This is the size of a Western comic paperback edition. Literally, just for comparison, here's a Spider-Man book from Marvel that just recently came out as well, and they're the same trim size. So you never had the chance to pick up Afro Samurai before. This is the perfect chance to grab the series in these 2 really great looking volumes. I recommend them. If you like larger trim stuff, then definitely jump on this. Then from Kodansha we have Is Love the Answer? This is about a girl who spent much of her life wondering about love since she's never had these types of feelings herself for anyone. She's never felt any sort of desire for physical intimacy. And after years of wondering about this, she begins to realize that maybe the feelings that she's been seeking may not exist at all, and maybe that's perfectly normal. So this series does explore asexuality or aromanticism by a creator who I believe had done another manga about asexuality previously. I don't remember if that's available in English though. Then from Yen Press we have Carnival Volume 14. This is the final 2-in-1 omnibus release for that shoujo, I think it's a fantasy action series. I'm not 100% familiar with Carnival, but I've heard a lot of people really pushing and recommending it. So I might have to check that one out soon, especially since it's done and it's only 14 volumes. I know that's not short, but it's not super long either. And then finally, for the 17th, we have High Score Girl Volume 10. This is actually what I'm reading right now. This is the final volume of this series, this kind of youthful romance between a couple of gamers who bond over their love of fighting games at the arcade, like Street Fighter. This is a fantastic series. I highly recommend it if you've not checked it out yet. And you can now get all 10 volumes in print from Square Enix. There's no word yet if they will release the second series that's currently ongoing. I forget exactly what it's called, but there is a second series, and I think it follows the main character from the first one as an adult, and now I read about it a little bit. I think he's a teacher. Anyway, moving forward into the 24th, the next to last week of the month, we're starting off with the second and last volume of Thunderbolt Fantasy. This is the 2-in-1 omnibus collecting the third and fourth volumes of the manga adaptation for the puppet action drama series. The first volume was pretty fun. It had beautiful artwork. The story was a little bit thin and lacking, but I think that that's not uncommon for like an adaptation like this. But since it was only 2 volumes long, I decided to go ahead and finish it off and grab that second volume. Next up, we have from 7 Seas, My Secret Affection. This one is okay, so if you're familiar with what this one is, the plot is ridiculous. 30 years ago, a meteorite crashed to Earth, and now heterosexuality has vanished. However, now, after Kazusa has been dumped by her girlfriend, she finds that she has a crush on Ayumu, but Ayumu is a boy. And his grandfather happened to be in space the day the meteorite hit, which made him the last heterosexual. Next up we have the Sword of the Demon Hunter, Kijin Gentosho. This one is about a demon hunter who protects a forest temple, or protects a princess within a forest temple. I really liked the cover to this one. I thought it was fantastic, so I am very excited to check this one out. If I'm not mistaken, I think that it's an adaptation of a novel, so we will see how that goes. Then we've got, again from 7 Seas, Polar Bear Cafe, the collector's edition. I don't know, there's not a standard edition, I don't think, to compare this to, so I don't know why this is a collector's edition, but it is an oversized print. This is a shoujo series about a polar bear who owns a cafe. Novel concept. Basically, we just get to see the polar bear interacting with all of his customers and the happenings, talking about the happenings of their day-to-day lives. And I think this is only 5 volumes total, so it looks fun, it looks cute. I'm looking at the chapter as Panda Bear in there. So I'm gonna have a good relaxing time sitting back and reading that one. And then we've got from Kodansha, A Condition Called Love. This was another big one for the shoujo fans out there. This one was available previously digitally, but had not been released physically until now. So this was a big get for shoujo fans back when it was announced over in the summer. This is another high school romance series where a girl who's never cared about being in a relationship is asked out by a boy after helping him out after he was dealing with being dumped after a recent breakup. Then we've got Yamada-kun and the 7 Witches, the final 2-volume omnibus collecting volumes 27-28. So that series is now done as well. And then finally, we wrap up this week with Happy of the End from Kuma. That was delayed, I think, by a couple of months, but it is finally available now to purchase. And then we make our way into the final week of January, the 31st, and we start off with a Dark Horse book, Neon Genesis Evangelion, the Shinji Ikari Raising Project. So that is, I think, the most popular spin-off of the original Neon Genesis Evangelion series is this one, and this final omnibus edition is at last available. I think it was delayed quite a bit. It took a really long, like years between this and the 5th omnibus edition. So now the entire 6-volume omnibus set is available for you to purchase it, and I purchased it. I hadn't picked the series up yet, but I went ahead and grabbed it, and I'm gonna pick up the rest of the series. So not in my December. So next month in February, when I do my January haul, you'll probably see the entirety of this series on there. Next up, we have I Saw It, a survivor's true story of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. This is from the same creator of Barefoot Gen. This was previously published in a single issue, like magazine format, but it's now getting a graphic novel release. The single issue you could find, I found it for like a few bucks on eBay a couple of years ago. So if you want that just for the novelty of it, it is out there, it is available. But now this is getting a graphic novel release from Last Gasp, who is the publisher who put out the hardcover editions of Barefoot Gen. The ones that I have in my collection. And then finally, for the month of January, the last item is The Moon Over the Mountain from Vertical, which is the second installment in the Maiden's Bookshelf series of beautifully illustrated storybooks. This one in particular adapts the story of a man transformed into a tiger, a story that comes from the Tang Dynasty. So these are small kind of hardcovers that are wider than a normal volume of manga, and they are like I said, illustrated storybooks. So instead of being like a narrative with speech bubbles and stuff like that, you usually have like a full page of art and then some narrative on the other page written. This is the second. I forget the title of the first one that had come out, but if you look up Maiden's Bookshelf, you'll find that book, the first one. Wonderful artwork in these, and I think they have a third one that was announced that'll be coming out later this year. But yes, if you want to see some really great artwork, these are books to pick up. However, I will say that they are pretty expensive. This has a $20 cover price, and I think they only are about 50 pages of material each, but they're very well put together. So that was it for January. A lot of really great things that I obviously had already picked up. Again, I apologize for this being so late, but I promise February is not going to be the same because I'm caught up at work. That's the biggest obstacle, and I have this all set up. And while I said I want to install some better lighting so that it looks better while I'm filming, the thing is done, so that was the main thing, was actually getting it done. So my obstacles are out of the way. I'll be back soon with my December haul, and then I'll see y'all at the beginning of February for the February buyer's guide. As always, please let me know in the comments down below what you are planning to pick up, what you've already picked up, and if there's anything that I mentioned in this video that you didn't know about yet that already came out. Let me know if you plan on picking it up now, anything that might have piqued your interest or caught your eye. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. My apologies once again for the delay, and I will see you all a lot sooner than this one came out. I'll see you all on the next video. Thank you so much. Peace out.